guys, it's Tina and I am back, and I am here with a video that I hope will be helpful for those of you guys who are now in the market for replacements or just alternatives to the now debunked Z palette. For those of you who don't know, a few weeks ago, the owner of Z palette went on a social media rampage against commenters on Instagram who were kind of questioning the price of her newly released product, and she went in. She was insulting people left and right with zero F's given. She could care less. And of course, a lot of us in the beauty community were outraged, and a lot of larger influencers have spoken up as well, which I found interesting because it seems that they're very selective in boycotting certain people over others, even though they display the same characteristics. Jeffree Star, anyone know? I did a full car chat video on all the brands that I do not support and my reasons why, so you can definitely check that out if you want to hear more about the story. And there are timestamps in that video, so you can jump ahead to whatever brand you want to hear me talk about. But in this video, I wanted to share alternatives to the Z palette, whether you are looking to replace the ones that you have or you're just looking for alternatives because you no longer want to support that brand. And even if you're just looking for cheaper alternatives, period, because the Z palettes are seriously overpriced for what they are. By now, most of us know what a Z palette is, but I'll just run through the general gist of the product so that we're all on the same page. It's a magnetic palette that is cardboard with a magnetic strip at the base and a see-through or transparent lid. The magnetized layer inside the palette allows you to store various metal pans in this palette. So if you have single eyeshadow pans that you can buy in singles just like this, just in their pan form, from Makeup Geek, Anastasia Beverly Hills, Makeup Forever, or MAC, you can store those pans in these palettes, and this goes for blushes, eyeshadows, any cream pan products, lipsticks, and you can even create your own pan products from melting lipsticks or pressing pigments. And a lot of people have depotted like their plastic packaging, especially from MAC. That's how it all started. You depot these products and then you can stick them into an empty magnetized palette. And that's pretty much how Z palette made its name. It's an easy and convenient way to store any of your makeup products that are available in these little metal pans, and it's great for storage because you don't have as much bulk anymore with plastic compact packaging. You have now all your eyeshadows, all your blushes in one place, and they're really great for travel as well because you can just grab a couple of these with all your products and set them right into your suitcase with no muss and no fuss. Now, the thing a lot of people take issue with the Z palette, beyond the whole fiasco that happened on social media, is the price point. They are very overpriced product for what you get. This palette right here is the extra large palette, and this retails for $28. Yes, you heard me right, $28. Now keep in mind that you can get a full eyeshadow palette for $32, $34, so you're spending a few more bucks to get a palette that actually has product in it. Meanwhile, you're getting a palette that's an empty Z palette that you now have to fill with products that you purchase separately. Now, this extra large Z palette will hold 35 of the small eyeshadow pans. So these are the 26mm pans that you find available from Makeup Geek, Anastasia Beverly Hills, Urban Decay, and MAC. They typically contain 0.05 ounces of product, so they're the smaller type eyeshadows, and this will hold 35 of those. Now, when you move up in size to the larger size eyeshadows like Makeup Forever, which are 36mm, you also have larger size eyeshadow pans from MAC, from Kat Von D. They're the larger size eyeshadow pans. This will hold 18 eyeshadows. So of course, it's a really convenient way to stack up 35 eyeshadows or 18 large size eyeshadows. It's a really great way to store your products. Now, that is $28, like I said. Their large Z palette is $20, and this will hold 28 of the smaller eyeshadow pans. So like I said, those MAC eyeshadow pans, it will hold 28. So that's 7 less than the extra large palette. or it will hold 14 of the larger size eyeshadow pans. The other size that they have is a medium size, which is $17, and that holds 15 of the small eyeshadow pans and 8 of the larger eyeshadow pans. They also have a small version which holds 9 of the small eyeshadow pans and 4 of the larger eyeshadow pans. Now, what really drew me to Z Palette and why I ended up spending so much and investing so much in these empty palettes is the transparent lid. I really like the convenience of having a lid that I can see my products through. And I think a lot of people also like that. It's a really easy way to pick up the palette that you're looking for. You just grab and go because you can see the products. But a lot of people have mentioned that these aren't as sturdy as they used to be because their transparent lids are cracking and breaking under pressure, especially when they travel with them. I don't really travel with mine, so I have not experienced that myself. But I have found myself storing my palettes upwards with the hinges out, and I printed out labels from my P-Touch labeler so I can know exactly what products are in there. So this transparent lid is no longer as convenient or as practical as I thought it would be because I don't see the product anyway. I just read it off the hinge. And for me, I am not throwing my Z palettes out. I don't know who you think you are, but I am not throwing my Z palettes out. I paid my money for them. I'm not getting a refund. The owner already pocketed my money. She already profited from my purchases. So to throw them out would be a waste for me. But what I did do, and you can check out my Instagram, I'll just insert a clip here. I just applied black nail polish over the Z palette logo. I applied it right here so you can't see the Z palette anymore. And I also applied it over the back where the Z palette is. And I recommend you do that if you really don't want to showcase Z palettes whenever you do a video, or I don't know, you just don't want to see the logo. Just cover it up with some black nail polish. It's really simple. Let it dry, and can you even tell that this is a Z palette? Yeah, I didn't think so. But now that Z Palette has gone ahead and dug themselves a grave, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the alternatives on the market that I think are just as good, if not better, and they're at a much, much better price point. Every single product that I'm gonna talk about now is cheaper in comparison to Z Palette. I'm just gonna go ahead and start right off the top and go with my #1 recommendation, and that would be the metal palettes from Makeup Forever. And I think a lot of people are already in love with these metal palettes, so they're nothing new on the scene. It's just that Z palettes kind of were a more popular item, but I think the Makeup Forever metal palettes have been getting their own glory lately, and it's even more reason to invest in these. These are all black metal palettes, as the name suggests, and they're available through Sephora online, and you can also get them online through the Makeup Forever website now, or you can check them out at a Makeup Forever boutique, and there are quite a few locations available these days. There are 3 locations in New York, in case you were ever curious. Now I'm going to start out with the baby of the lineup. There are 4 different sizes available, and like I said, they are all metal tin palettes, and they do have a little indent and dedent that snaps fit at the front to keep your palette securely closed. There is no mirror in the lid, so don't expect that at all, and it is a complete opaque finish. It doesn't have a transparent lid. Now inside each palette they do include a foam insert which is meant to help protect your products during travel, so do hold on to this. And they also have a clear plastic insert that you can layer over your products so they don't get messy or transfer to the foam insert when you're traveling or when you're storing your products. And then at the bottom, of course, you have the magnet that holds onto your products. Now this particular palette will hold 9 of the small eyeshadows that we mentioned before. So 9 of these pans will fit in this palette, and it's 3 across and 3 down. And it's an easy way to travel with just a select few eyeshadows. So if you don't have a large collection, or you just want to go to like neutral palette or colorful palette, here's an easy way to store 9 of those eyeshadows. Now if you have the larger size eyeshadows like the Makeup Forever ones, because that's what this was really created for, this will hold 4 of those eyeshadows or blushes depending on what shades you get. And it fits them nicely. It's a very strong magnet in here. It holds them securely. And like I said, with these inserts, it does help to protect your products, and it does securely fasten. It's a really sturdy palette because it is metal. So they end up being really great for travel, and most makeup artists actually really enjoy these palettes. And we'll go into the other sizes because as you go up in size, you'll see how convenient they are for storage. Now this smaller palette costs $10. $10. Remember, the small Z palette costs $14 and it holds the same amount of products. So bam, you're saving money right there. The second size up is a medium size palette. This one is $11, so it's just $1 more. And this guy also comes with the foam insert and the plastic overlay. And this will hold 20 of your smaller size eyeshadows. So it actually holds more than the medium size palette from Z Palette. It will hold 5 across and 4 down, and it fits nice and secure. And then for the larger size eyeshadows, you can fit 12 of them. So 3 down and 4 across. And I think the sizing of these is really perfect because they fit both smaller and larger eyeshadow pans uniformly in the palette without leaving too much wiggle room or too much wasted space. And I think they did a great job with sizing these so they're convenient to use with not only their products but also other products on the market. Next up is the large palette, and this guy is $13. Now we still haven't even made up the price of the small Z palette, so that goes to show you just how inexpensive these are compared to the Z palettes. Now this guy will hold 32. Yes, 32 of the smaller size eyeshadows, so you can fit 4 down and 8 across. And I really love this palette as well, and it's a really compact palette. It's not very large at all. If you compare the sizing to a large Z palette, you'll see that the Z palette is a little bit wider, but it's also a little bit shorter. So I think the sizing actually correlates as far as volume goes, but this guy holds a lot more eyeshadows than the Z palette, which makes me wonder. I'm like, what the hell is going on? So like I said, this holds 32 of the smaller eyeshadow pans, and then the large eyeshadow pans, it fits 18. So we're talking about almost as much as an extra large Z palette. It's really convenient. Again, one of my favorite palettes. Actually, that size is kind of one of my favorite sizes. But I think the one that everybody loves is the Big Mama Jama. It's the extra large metal palette. This guy's $14, so that's the same price as the small Z palette. And guess how many this one holds? 54. Yes, 54 of the small eyeshadows, and they fit conveniently in this palette. No muss, no fuss. It's a great travel palette. I mean, 54 pans. We're talking about a lot of product. And as far as the larger eyeshadows, it fits 28, which is also a lot of product. And this one is a favorite of makeup artists because they can have one for neutrals and one for colorful shades, and that's it for their eyeshadows. Like, you literally have 2 of these, and they're slim, slender, sturdy, and great for travel. So that would be my #1 recommendation. But I do have a couple more to show you, so don't go anywhere. Next up is second on my list of recommendation, and these are from Tarte. And these are recently released within the last year. These are the Tarte's Pro Custom Magnetic Palette. And what I love about these is the design. I mean, I was automatically drawn to these. It's a leopard print, and then they have a hot, bright pink palette with gold lips and light pink lips all over it, and the hashtag Kiss and Makeup, which is actually a campaign that Tarte endorses. It's an anti-bullying campaign. And if I can contribute to a cause while at the same time enjoying makeup, I am all for it. This was limited edition, but it is still available. You can still pick it up on the Tarte website. So you have 2 versions available, and aren't they beautiful? These are $17 a piece, which is a little bit more pricey. It's the price of a medium Z palette, but inside this guy, you have an extremely large mirror, and the mirror is so great. The quality and clarity of this mirror is superb. It is top quality. It is really vivid. So if you're one that uses mirrors and palettes to apply your makeup, this is a great palette for you to pick up. You do have to hold it in place because the hinge does flap over. But this mirror, I was always impressed by the quality of this mirror. Now this palette is a beautiful sturdy palette as well, and it's made from more of a plastic canvas material that's easy to clean. I forgot to mention that with the Makeup Forever palettes, which I think was obvious anyway, they're easy to wipe down because they are just a metallic pan. These are also easy to clean because it's more of a plastic canvas material. It doesn't hold on to fingerprints or anything. It's easy to wipe down, and I thought that was a great feature that Tarte made sure that they kept in mind. And inside you have a large surface that holds 30 of the small eyeshadow pans. And I think that is great. You can arrange them so you can fit a total of 30, and that holds more than the large Z palette. And I just love this palette. You can of course organize them with different size pans. It will fit 16 of the large eyeshadow pans, a little awkwardly, but you can fit 16 in here. And of course you can mix different size pans and fit as many as you can in here, but it will hold 16 of the larger eyeshadow pans. I really like this palette. Again, I think the mirror is a great addition if you love using a mirror in a palette, or if you're traveling with this, it's a really great mirror to apply your makeup with on the go. The pink one is the same deal, same design, only this one is more of a coated cardboard. Again, easy to clean, you just wipe it off, but I do prefer the quality of the material of this one versus the pink one. But again, it's still a really great and sturdy palette. And I do have some of my eyeshadows laid out in here. So you see you have square pans, round pans, and you just fit them however you wish. Isn't this a beautiful palette? But yeah, the Tarte palettes are definitely one of my recommendations. Next up is an indie brand that I discovered a couple of years ago, and I've been really enjoying their products. And they released eyeshadows, and with those eyeshadows they released their own version of a magnetic palette. And of course I'm talking about Colored Raine. They happen to be a female owned company. Not only that, they're black owned as well, so it's a great way to show your support for a fellow woman and, you know, empower your females, and it's a great way to support a black owned business as well. So these are the Colored Raine eyeshadow palettes. These are a little bit pricier than I would like, but this is $13 and it's a large size palette. And it compares to the large Z palette. So it is $7 less than a regular Z palette, but it's the same kind of design. It is in a bright pink. You have the Colored Raine logo on the front, and then a saying on the back that says, "Always be fierce," which I thought was cute. It's a little bit more lightweight than a Z palette or than the other palettes that we spoke about, but it's still a very sturdy palette. But the cardboard and the heft to this is a little bit more lightweight, which may actually be better for people for traveling because it doesn't get as heavy as the other palettes do. Inside this palette, it's just a cardboard lid. There's no mirror. And then you have, of course, the magnetic inside. This palette will hold 28 of the small eyeshadow pans. Again, the same as a large Z palette. And it holds all of their eyeshadows, which is why they provided this. They have an eyeshadow bundle that you can buy all their eyeshadows, and they provide you with an eyeshadow palette to go with it. It will hold 14 of the larger eyeshadows. So again, a great way to store your products. It's a nice, convenient price, and you are supporting a female-owned brand and a black-owned company. They have a second size that they came out with recently that I picked up quite a few of these, and I love this design. I love white packaging, and this is an well, not all white, but it's a white packaging with a floral kind of drip drop design on it. It's an abstract design. It's really beautiful, but these are cardboard. It's a beautiful print on this palette, and this one is a little bit pricier. It's $20. And for the $20, they do include a mirror in the lid. It is a good quality mirror. It's just not a full-size mirror, and you can definitely use it on the go. It's just that I could have done without the mirror if they provided it at a cheaper price. But with this palette, I have some of my square eyeshadows in here, and this guy will hold 24 of the Inglot eyeshadows, which is what I have in this right now. But it also holds 35 of the small eyeshadow palettes, so it holds the same as an extra large Z palette for $8 less, and it will hold 18 of the larger size eyeshadows. And I just really love the print of this. Of course, I wish it was a little bit cheaper. I hope they provide a non-mirrored version for those of us who don't want to spend $20 on a palette. Now, those are my top 3 recommendations for empty magnetic palettes. If anyone stopped me on the street and said, hey, what do you think would be the best alternative? Those would be the top 3 for me. However, I have a couple other empty magnetic palettes in my collection that I wanted to mention, and the pros and cons of them. First up is the Inglot Freedom System Flexi palette. Now, when I first saw these, I was ready. I was so ready because they're all white. You know I love white, and I've always loved the Inglot packaging because they have a magnetic plastic lid that you remove completely, and then you can attach it to the back because it does attach with the magnets. It's really sleek, really convenient, really beautiful packaging. However, these are $21. $21, and they can hold 24 of the small eyeshadow pans, which I mean is not a lot when you consider the price of this palette, and it will hold 13 of the larger Makeup Forever eyeshadows. Now, the thing I didn't like about these is that the dimensions make it inconvenient. They don't really fit the eyeshadow pans uniformly. It's kind of awkward. You have to stagger them. They're not aesthetically pleasing, and I want my palettes to look pretty when I open them. So that was a drawback for me, and they're kind of dangerous because the edges of these can get very sharp, and they can gouge out your eyeshadows. Like when you're pulling this magnet off, because it's so strong, you can accidentally gouge your products while they're in here. So these are not my favorite palettes. I was really excited when I first got them, and I got tons of them. And now I'm like, yeah, not so much, because they just don't fit my products as conveniently as I would like. But it's a nice palette. The lid is kind of a fogged, transparent lid, so you can kind of see through it, so you can see the product in there. But I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of the sizing and dimension. Plus it's $21, I mean, that's pricey. Then we have the NARS Pro Palette. NARS debuted their Pro Palette system a couple of years ago, so it's available on their website. You can build your own palette, and unfortunately, these palettes are only available through the NARS website, even though I have never had an issue shopping through the NARS website. And they also offer EBATES. Now, I don't have a major problem with shopping through NARS, but the shipping takes a little bit longer than I would like, and I just want my products when I want my products, right? So they released these Pro palettes, like I said, with their Pro system, and these are more of a canvas design, and these hold on to fingerprints like nobody's business. There are 2 sizes available. They have a small and a large. This one happens to be the large palette, and it's $18, and it holds a ton of eyeshadows in here. So it's a really great, convenient palette. It's lightweight. It is not as durable as I would like, which is why it's not in my top recommendations. What I found is I store my palettes up against each other, and what I found was that these NARS palettes were actually curling, and the adhesive was lifting away from the palette. So they're not the sturdiest palettes, and I didn't even have them for that long before that started happening, which I thought was like, what is this? So it's not the best designed product, and it's a little bit on the higher price side as well, and it holds on to fingerprints, gets dirty because this material that they decided to use just gets really messy, and it's hard to clean because it wants to hold on to the product. It's not just wipe and go. You have to scrub these a bit, but they do hold tons of product. They're sleek, and they are very slender, and they're nice, but not on the top of my recommendations. Now, this is the large palette. Like I said, this holds 46 of the small eyeshadow pans. Again, you have to stagger them a little bit. The dimensions don't really fit with the average size eyeshadow pan sizes, but it does fit with their pan sizes. I mean, NARS has a very unique pan shape and design, and they now have those pans as Pro pans, so you can buy them separately and store them in your palettes and curate your own palette from NARS. Now, this will also hold 24 of the larger eyeshadow pans. Again, you do have to kind of stagger them. These are my Anastasia Beverly Hills Highlight on Contour powders. So you see, I fit 24 of them in here, just staggered a little bit so they fit easily. And The smaller palette, which I don't have, I never purchased it, it's $14, and that size will hold approximately 30 of the smaller eyeshadow pans and 14 to 16 of the larger eyeshadow pans. Since I don't have that one in my own collection, I can't tell you for sure, but just by estimation and looking at the palettes online and seeing other people store their products in it, you're gonna get about 30 small eyeshadows to fit, or 14 to 16 larger eyeshadow pans. Now I wanted to quickly mention the Makeup Geek Travel Vault palette, which is available through makeupgeek.com, because Marlena herself kind of stood up and spoke about the Z palette fiasco. She does offer Z palettes on her website to use with her eyeshadow pans and blush pans, and she said once they run out of stock, they're no longer going to be doing business with Z palette, which I thought was commendable. But again, I think it's a very selective way. And then she happened to promote her own product as a replacement for the Z palette. Take that for what it's worth. I just find it very convenient that a lot of these larger influencers stand up for certain things but not against other things. But that is your decision to make. I did get a Makeup Geek eyeshadow palette when I picked up their contour powders. So these are $13. It's a very beautiful palette with a gunmetal faux metal lid and a rubberized back. It's a really sturdy, sleek, very attractive looking palette. Inside you do get a full-sized mirror, and it is again a nice quality mirror. You can use it for travel, and this one does have a hinge, so you don't have to hold it in place while you apply your eyeshadows or your makeup. That's really convenient. Now, like I said, it's $13 and it holds 4 of her contour products, as you can see, but these are larger size pans. I believe these are 44 millimeter pans, so they're a little larger in size, but the large eyeshadow pans that we've been mentioning before, it will hold 5 of them. Again, you do have to stagger them, kind of move them around for them to fit in here. It won't be the prettiest palette to look at, but it will hold 5. And of course, the 4 of her larger pans. It will also hold 9 of the smaller eyeshadow pans. So it will put 3 across and 3 down. So it's a nice palette. It's a nice, convenient, easy palette, but it's $13 and it only holds 9 eyeshadows. And then last up, I have to mention the MAC Pro palettes, because it wouldn't be a video talking about palettes if we didn't at least mention the MAC palettes. Now, all of these MAC palettes are all plastic. They have a transparent lid that I was really drawn to, and they're only $8 on the MAC website. And you can also purchase these separate inserts that are $2 for the larger ones or $1 for the smaller ones, and pop them into your palettes. Now, these don't really fall on my list of recommendations. It has a great price point and I do like the design. However, there is no magnet in this palette. It is simply a metallized base, which means you need to attach a magnet to any of your eyeshadow pans that do not come with their own magnets. That's not really convenient for anybody. No one really wants to go do it myself and get it done, right? I don't want that. If you buy the MAC eyeshadow pans, the Pro pans, they do have a magnet on the back, and that way you can pop them into this palette. But I find that even with the magnet on the back, it's not really a secure fit. It doesn't have a strong hold. With the MAC palettes, they still kind of slip around. So it's best to buy the inserts. And with the inserts, they come in at, now this is a $10 palette, and you can only fit 15 eyeshadows in here. Not really convenient for me. Doesn't really hold as many eyeshadows as I would want to, and even though it has a transparent lid, it's just like I want to fit more in here, and I like the luxury of being able to fit any pans I want to. So if I bought Makeup Geek eyeshadows, Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows, my Makeup Forever eyeshadows, which I love so much, then I needed to fit in this palette without any muss or any fuss. I don't want to DIY and get magnetic strips just to make it fit in this palette. It's just not worth the extra effort for me, since the price point is not that much cheaper than the Makeup Forever alternatives that has that all figured out already. You know what I mean? So I wanted to mention these. They have various sizes available. This palette itself is their large eyeshadow palette, and this will hold 15 with the insert, so you will have 15 small eyeshadows. If you remove the insert, you can fit 24 of the small eyeshadow pans. You can also fit 12 of the large eyeshadow pans in here without the insert, because of course the insert now minimizes the space that you're gonna have to fit eyeshadows in here. You can buy the inserts for the blushes, but they don't fit the Makeup Forever sized pans. So not really convenient for me. They also have a medium size that's also $8, fits about 9 to 12 of the small eyeshadow pans. I'm not really sure how many it would fit of the larger pan eyeshadows, but I'm figuring it's 6 to 8. Then you have the smaller size palette, which fits 6 to 8 of the smaller eyeshadows. Again, you can get the inserts, you can fit blushes in there, or you can fit eyeshadows. And what I have done is I bought the blush inserts for my MAC blushes and I fit them in these palettes instead, but I don't use these for eyeshadows, and it will fit about 2 of the larger eyeshadow pans. I wouldn't recommend these unless you're using them for MAC eyeshadows. So that is gonna wrap up this video. There was a lot to cover. I went through tons of details and hopefully you guys found it helpful. I did want to share as much information as I could with pricing and sizing, so you guys had as much information as possible before you made your decisions on what palettes you wanted to invest in. I mean, these aren't cosmetic products where you're gonna get use out of them, you're gonna see the beauty of them. They're literally just for storage, so no one wants to break the bank for storage, right? So hopefully this video was a little bit helpful for you guys. Again, my top 3 Makeup Forever metal palettes, they sell out quickly, so sign up for the restock emails through Sephora.com. But they're also available through Makeup Forever online, and you can also go in-store at the boutiques. If you don't even live near a boutique, you can call them up and have them ship them out to you. You can order right there on the phone and they will happily ship them out to you. So if they're running out of stock in Sephora and you still wanted to get your hands on them right away, then go on the Makeup Forever website or just call one of the boutiques closest to you to have them shipped out to you. But hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. You got to see a few of the different palette options that are out there. Of course, there are numerous other ones out there. There are various ones from indie brands. These are just the ones that I have tried and I have really enjoyed and that I find are really sturdy, really high quality, and that I would recommend myself. I can't vouch for anything else that you find on eBay or from an indie brand. So I'm going to leave a full list of every palette that I mentioned in this video along with size and information, so you can use that for easy reference. I'll also leave links to where you can pick them up online, and most of the links will be affiliate links, but not all of them, because I don't have affiliate links for every single brand. But if you do make a purchase through an affiliate link, that means I do get a small sales commission. If you're not comfortable with that, I understand completely. Go ahead and just shop as you normally would online or in store. But if you do purchase through my link, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the support because it does help me to put back into this channel. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and hopefully it was helpful for those of you who have been seeking alternatives to the Z palette, whether or not you are boycotting the brand altogether or you're just looking for something that's cheaper, because every palette that I mentioned today is cheaper than the existing Z palettes. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!